I'm SHAWAINE. This is my story. Lord, give me patience, because if you give me strength, there's no telling what I might do. Don't tell me I'm pretty for a black girl, because not to be arrogant, I'm pretty damn beautiful for a girl. Period. My blackness does not dictate whether I'm beautiful or not. It just enhances it. And before you ask, yes, my hair is real, and no, you may not feel it. And yes, my name is different. Your questions don't bother me, I just think you're ignorant. But before I come off as an angry black girl, I'll just smile and nod while you ask me where I come from. Because with this nappy-ass head and the dark pigment of my skin, I can't be from this continent. And you got that right. I'll tell you with pride beating loud in my heart that I'm from Jamaica, because no Yankee I go tear me down today. And I'll walk away with my confidence speaking volumes. I'll look up and I'll ask, Lord, what else you have for me today? Coming up, time for no bad mind people. I start out in a place where I'm the majority. People who look like me and speak like me are everywhere. Now I'm in a place where people who look like me are in the minority. We are some of the few who are discriminated against, the ones you have to look out for. I moved here when I'm 7 with an accent thick as butter, hair combed into twists with baubles at the end. My little inexperienced mind knows nothing of racism or discrimination, because where I come from, our motto is, out of many people. Out of one person derives many people. We are all equal. The shade of our skin does not determine that. But at the age of 9, I learned that I have to get my hair straightened because pretty girls wear their hair straight. This is the first time I experienced my skin color and hair as not desirable. I fry my hair day and night to reach that ideal of beauty. When I get to middle school, I'm told outright I'm too dark and my name is stupid. The proud identity I brought with me from Jamaica doesn't matter anymore. My world is shattered. I think maybe things will change in high school, but the jokes just get less funny. There are a lot of little incidents that make me see that my skin color is something I should be ashamed of. From being bullied at school, I lose my self-confidence and my pride. My parents put me on the phone with my grandmother in Jamaica. My grandmother tells me that I can't let people walk all over me. She reminds me that I come from a place where I'm strong and independent. I come from a place where I know how to stand my ground. My grandmother says, "Little gal, don't let nobody test you. You know where you come from, you're strong and you're independent and you're proud. You can't go foreign and let little pitney play with you like you're a fool." She tells me I'm strong and beautiful. She tells me my skin color is something to be proud of, and I can never let anyone put me down for it. She tells me that she loves me. I open up to her more than my parents. My grandmother is not afraid to tell it like it is. Each time I call, she tells me the things I need and want to hear. Last year, I decided I'm not going to be shy SHAWAINE anymore. I'm going to be like my grandmother, strong and independent. On my first day of school, I'm the one to speak first. I'm loud and assertive. I make new friends. This makes me feel good. I think I want to be like this more often. Some of my old friends are shocked when I stand up for myself. They challenge me, and I give it right back. I think people may have beaten us down with hatred and crime, but I'm black without apology. I'm the Sunday dinner after church. I'm the whoopings given for disrespect. I'm the curry goat and chicken. I'm a sit still or I'm a whoop you. I'm the girl, you better not test me. I'm the fried chicken and watermelon. I'm the Saturday cookouts and loud shouts, lip smacking, feet stomping, head shaking, hand clapping, black girl you make me out to be. Now, I'm black without apology. loud with the voice of my people. Duppy no over frightened, so no let Duppy no say afraid. Take Duppy by hand and walk him. I walk with confidence in my veins. My skin is blessed and kissed by the sun. Where I walk, melanin flows. My heartbeat is the call of my ancestors.
As a kid, I lived with my mom and my two sisters and don't get to see my dad as much as I'd like. Not having my dad around forced me to become a man much quicker than other kids my age. I do my own dishes and laundry. I'm always the one who answers the door just to make sure things are okay. And I feel like I can't show my feelings so I can be there for my sisters and my mom. I feel like I have to be the man of the house. Luckily, I have my grandfather around. He teaches me everything I know. He teaches me how to be a man. Every night when my mom has to work, she drops me off to my grandfather's house. My grandfather always walks out with a football and he throws it at me right away. On this one cold night, my mom drops me off and he greets me as usual, then says, "Get in the truck, let's go for a ride." I get in the truck and something smells funny. I ask, "Hey Pop, what's that smell?" He laughs and tells me it's his cologne. It's to impress the ladies. And we both start laughing as he drives down the street. But then out of nowhere he says, "Eddie, when I pass away, everything is gonna be on you." I don't know why he's talking like that. I look at him and say, "Pop, you're talking crazy." "Eddie, I'm serious. I could pass away any day now." As I'm looking out the window at the beautiful night sky, thinking about what he just said to me, he taps me on the shoulder and asks, "You wanna drive?" Now I'm terrified for a completely different reason. I don't know how to drive. He just says, "Drive around the block. You're not gonna hurt anybody." He pulls over and I get in the driver's seat. He sits back and lets me drive. He smiles and says, "You go, boy." It feels good to know he believes in me. A couple of years later, me and my family moved from New York to Maryland. It's hard to be far away from my grandfather. I'm so happy on the 4th of July, my grandparents come down to visit. We all go to a party that my family members are throwing. My grandfather has a couple of drinks and then instantly wants to stop and go home. Now I know my grandfather and he likes to party, so I know there's something wrong. He would usually keep drinking and have a good time, but in this case, he just doesn't want to anymore. We take him home and then we go back. When we return home, my grandpa's awake on the bed, just lying there. I don't ask him if he's okay, but quietly I'm wondering what's up with him. Then on August 25th, 2015, around 9:30 p.m., I wake up to yelling and screaming. I can't imagine why my mom is yelling and screaming late at night, so I get up and see what's wrong. My cousin had just called and told my mom that my grandfather killed himself. My mom has exploded in tears. Everyone in my house begins to cry hysterically. Then my great aunt and great uncle come over to show sympathy and support. I'm so upset that we're in Maryland and my grandparents and my grandpa's in New York. I know I can't change what's happened, but I'm 5 hours away and I feel so powerless. We can't do anything except stay on the phone and keep taking in the news. I try my hardest not to cry in front of all the girls, but I can't help it. He was that special. I'm crying on my bed thinking, if I had been there, this wouldn't have happened. When I lived closer to him, I would go outside with him every day and talk about his plans and tell jokes. I'm flooded with memories from when I was younger. I remember the day he laughed following me to the backyard, then started jumping up and down the swing, and all of a sudden, boom, he fell to the ground. I got off my swing so fast, laughing so hard until I cried. I remember all the funny jokes he told me, the time he took me for a ride in the back of his truck, how every time I walked into his house, all I hear is "Eddie," and then he'd come over and give me one of his famous big aggressive hugs. How he would go to all my games and how much he was there for me. Then I remember how he used to always preach to me and my sisters, "Don't ever commit suicide," he'd say. "God doesn't appreciate it." But then he goes and does it. It's selfish. It's selfish because he didn't let anyone know how he was feeling. He didn't tell anybody what was going on. When I go to his funeral, I feel dead inside. There's no yelling, no aggressive hugs, and most of all, no grandpa. I feel like my own father has died. It's been 3 years and I still have sleepless nights. Processing my grandfather's death has been hard for me and still is today. From this experience, I learned a lot. For instance, if you are having personal issues, don't give up. Fight, talk about it, ask for help. Let people know what's going on. My grandfather couldn't do that for some reason. He was dealing with health issues and struggling, but not letting anyone know. Right before he took his life, he saw a tragic car accident. He was traumatized by what he saw, but he didn't tell anybody about it. If he had talked to somebody before he made a bad decision, it could have released all the stress and made his life a little easier. Speaking up about how I feel has really changed my life. Me telling my story, letting everyone here know what I've been through, has not only helped make me feel better, I think I'm going to gain more respect too. Pop, I forgive you for doing what you did because something was hurting you personally and for some reason you couldn't talk about it. But there's been a hole in my heart that only you can fill. I wish you could still come to my games. I wish I could hear your words of encouragement, but I can't. For now, I'll keep sharing my story, our story, and fighting for the both of us. I guess I'll just have to be patient and keep waiting for one of your aggressive hugs until we meet again.
Hi, I'm GOPAL. I hate to brag, but I'm really good at lying. I've gotten so used to lying that sometimes I don't even realize I'm doing it. It started a few years back. Since then, I've become a natural. I often lie about little things. For instance, my mom calls and asks if I ate breakfast, and I say yes, even though I haven't. Then she comes home and sees me looking through the fridge trying to find something, anything to eat. She says, "I thought you ate." "I did." I lie again, although my stomach is making growling sounds that tell the truth. If I'm being completely honest, I don't only lie about little things, I lie about big things too. One day at school, I get in serious trouble. My principal calls my dad and tells him what I did. My dad asks me, "Is it true?" Of course, I tell him no. We go to the school to have a meeting about my behavior, and my dad goes to bat for me because he trusts me. But then it comes out that I actually did do what the principal said, and my dad feels stupid. I feel bad about it, but not bad enough to not do it again the next time. It gets worse. I'm dating a girl for a long time. For some reason, I decide to tell her the story of my tough past. Don't get me wrong, it was tough, but I take details and stretch them way too far. Now my girlfriend and her mom both think I was an abused child and that I'm often neglected. I take these lies and I stretch them for 2 years. They don't find out the truth until my girlfriend and I break up and I finally come clean. Sometimes lying has consequences. I learned about that on a trip to Florida. It's a tense car ride to the salon with Lily, an adult friend of the family I'm staying with. She's still mad at me for something I did the night before, and so I'm nervous about trying to convince her to let me go hang out with Gio later. I spend almost a whole day in a salon chair while Lily dyes my hair. Gio texts me at 4 saying he can pick me up at 5. My hair is finally done. "Can I hang out with Gio?" I ask. "Sure," she says. "What will you be doing?" I say, going to the movies and playing video games. I'm lying. I don't know why I'm lying. Lily smokes, she knows I smoke, and that Gio smokes too. Too late now. I get in Gio's car, which reeks of weed, as it always does. It makes me feel a little sick. Gio asks, "Is it cool if my friends come and smoke with us?" I say, "Sure." He knows I brought a lot of money because I've been working all summer. He convinces me to spend $100 on weed while he spends none. We drive to his house an hour away and meet his friends. They're all in college and honestly seem kind of lame to me, like stoners who have no aspirations in life. I start to see Gio the same way. We go outside and we all smoke together. Then we go back inside Gio's room where he starts rolling more to smoke already, which seems excessive. That's when my heart starts beating really fast. It feels incredibly uncomfortable. I tell Gio I'm gonna go downstairs for a second. He follows me and asks if I'm okay. I tell him I'm going to call my mom. I call her and tell her that it's not that bad, just uncomfortable. She says, "Eat something." I haven't eaten all day. Gio makes me a sandwich. I bite into it, and immediately my body feels like it's shutting down. My eyes close, my head drops, and I drop my sandwich. I have just enough energy to pick up a cup of water and put some in my mouth to help me spit out the food. "Gio," I say, "you need to take me to the hospital." He picks me up and we go towards the door, but his friends come down and tell him not to take me. I open my eyes and find I'm in a chair on the lawn and Gio is arguing with his friends about taking me to the hospital. Now I'm scared. I close my eyes again, and when I open them, I find I'm in the car. I call my dad and put him on speaker. I try to explain everything, but I can barely speak, so Gio talks to him. My dad says he has to call Lily, and he hangs up. I feel really bad about lying to her. I worry that she and my dad will be mad at me for lying, but I know I need to be honest now because I know I need medical help. Gio pulls into a parking lot and asks, "Do you really need to go to the hospital?" He says, "Maybe you're just having a bad trip." He keeps telling me I don't need to go to the hospital. Finally, I say, "If you don't drive me, I'll have to call 911. Gio gets right back on the road. He says, "I can't come into the hospital with you because I don't want to get in trouble." This makes me even more scared, but I understand. He says he'll wait for me in the parking lot. I spend the whole night in the hospital. In the morning, I wake up tired, hurt, and scared, but also loved. I call my dad and tell him how much I love him. He reassures me I'll be okay. Lily and everyone else I love in Miami comes to see me. No one holds on to it. No one holds it against me that I lied. All I feel is love and a new commitment to telling the truth.
My name is ERIN. I am a standard of beauty that isn't accepted by a majority of the world. I'm black, tall, and fat. It's been this way for a majority of my life. At 5 years, I get home from school, see my mom, and immediately notice 2 bunches of the freshest, yellowest daffodils I've ever seen, more yellow than the sun. My face must have said, "What are those?" Because Mom exclaims, "Those are daffodils. Aren't they beautiful? One's for you and one's for me." Daddy brought them from work for us. Mom bends down and pops her nose into one, saying, "Mmm." I copy her. "Mmm." Dad works up the hill at the correctional facility. He's a sergeant. I always imagine him sitting at his desk, just staring at the wall, bored as heck. But on this day, I imagine a coworker passing by with a bouquet of daffodils asking, "You want some?" In my imagination, my dad perks up, throws money in the air, and says, "Yes, my daughter would love this." Of course, at 5 years, I have no idea how jobs actually work. Dad is the first man who loves me and gives me flowers. My end goal in life is to be loved. As I grow up and the world gets more complicated, those flowers will remain my measure of what love really is, an unconditional yellow nose full of mmm. At 20, I'm given the nickname Jolly Black Giant by people who claim to be friends. This name helps remind me, in case I slip up and forget, that no one will ever think romantically about me. One night, I get a text message from my best friend, Kaylee. "You want to go to the bar?" Crap. No, I whine at my phone. That means I have to put on civilized clothes and attempt to be someone I'm not. I have to sit and think of every single article of clothing I own, wave a magic wand over my eyes, and summon my inner diva. Before I can push send, another text arrives. The tavern isn't IDing. Ashley's coming. Tequila sunrises. She said my 2 safe words. Tequila sunrise. I can't resist. Darn this woman. I beg my spirit animal, Beyonce, to guide me through my fat girl wardrobe of Yankees apparel, Adidas sweatshirts, and Kmart clearance items designed for 40-year-old women trying to be hip. I settle on a shimmery number peeled from the back layer of my closet and do my overgrown permed hair as best I can. Yes, I am delicious. I tell a fluid lie to my parents about an ice cream party at the girls' house, and I hear a honk for me to come out to the car. Kaylee and Ashley are wearing simple tank tops and jeans, looking like finalists on America's Next Top Model, and Maggie's in the back seat, the reincarnation of Persephone herself. I'm suddenly aware of how many stomach rolls I have, and I just want to vomit from all the cute in this damn Dodge Neon. I'm ready to go home, and we haven't even left my driveway. But I know that drinks will help relax me. At least, that's what I think until the boys conveniently meet us at the bar. One of their jobs is to remind me that I'm the Jolly Black Giant. I use that nickname as a reason why I can't ever be in the spotlight. I'm content with being another person in the crowd, not worrying about the camera panning to me, because I do not resemble the face of America that makes everyone swoon. Once, while visiting a friend in college, I go to her dress rehearsal with her. I volunteer to help with props. I used to dream in Technicolor, and climbing the steps to the stage, I realized that I still do. Instead of the spotlight filling me to the brim, it pierces me with the heat of pressure, supported with the billion eyes of the audience. As I cross the stage, a heckler screams, "You're cute," and silences the house. They wait for me to respond. 2 words so strong haven't pierced me before. My response is to turn into a Marx brother and joke around, look over my shoulder and say, "Who, me?" and wait for the laughs. He follows me out, asks me why I didn't take his compliment. I'm thinking that this gag is getting old and he's not picking up the cue of, I am my own worst enemy. I can do bad all by myself. But he takes my hand and tells me his name. He forces his number onto my phone and says he'll text me. As time goes on, I realize that the reason he followed me out was because I angered him, and our relationship was some petty revenge. On Sunday, he tells me I'm a goddess among mortals, but on Monday, I'm an effing black, sealy-looking, nappy-headed wannabe slut. Who'd want an a hefty bag full of wiggly fat, dummy? He coos in my ear the whole time we're fooling around in his dorm room. You, I think? He's right, though. I am a dummy. I can't even figure out that I didn't give him consent to touch me. I learned too late. I feel permanently dirty. Nothing sits right anymore. I have scars and burn marks from his drug-induced attacks. But I did get to answer the question, how many licks does a black girl have to take until she figures out she's in an abusive relationship? The answer is 3. His apologies are never coupled with flowers. He and my next boyfriend believe that flowers are a useless disposal of money, and I'm not worth that. So I head to the dollar store and buy a bouquet of fake daffodils that sit on the emergency brake of my Chevy Cobalt to remind me I'm worth a damn. I give online dating one last try and meet a shy man. He wears Hawaiian shirts and reminds me of Magnum P.I. Okay, Tom Selleck, I say to myself, let's get this date over with. He drives me around Kingston in his convertible and asks about me, and the horror stories just start flying. I'm trying to laugh them off, but they are whipping out of me with incredible veracity. When I finally get custody of my mouth, Tom Selleck is crying. I grab my purse to make an exit. He pulls me back and says, "I'm sorry." He calls me a beautiful woman, shy and sweet. He must feel a joke coming on because he tells me to be serious. He explains that he's falling hard for me and would like to spend as much time with me, kissing away all of the pain I've suffered. I have no reason to believe him. 10 years, a house, and a marriage later, I still wake up and ask him if he likes me as a friend or nah. As we cuddle under our daffodil-colored wedding pictures, he tells me just to say my mantra and go back to bed. My name is ERIN. I am a standard of beauty that isn't accepted by a majority of the world. I am black, tall, and fat. It's been this way for a majority of my life. My end goal is to be loved, and I guess I am.
Growing up, I wasn't very conscious of race. I know there are people of all colors, but I don't really care because I see no real difference between them and I. When I was 5 years old, I told my mom, "I'm not black, I'm brown, Mommy." She laughs and says, "Ashley, you're black." I strut my little self to my room, took out my black crayon, go back to my mom, "See, Mommy, I'm not black. My skin doesn't look like this." My mom, she is a full-blooded Jamaican, and she is speechless. And if there's one thing to know about Jamaicans, is that they always have something to say. At Robert Graves Elementary School, I am the only full black kid in my class. It didn't really faze me that I'm the only one. Nobody really treats me any different from the other students. But then I came to middle school where I really noticed the difference in people. Not by the color of their skin, but by their attitudes. It's absolutely disgusting. I'm confronted by my racial identity. I'm called an Oreo because I'm a white girl in a black girl's body. I'm told that I talk and act like I'm white. I hear people telling me I don't act black or sound black, but I act as if I'm white. How can someone tell me who I am? So I asked them, what does a black person act or sound like? They don't answer me, or they say, ghetto. I don't know how to respond, so I act like the stereotypical black girl. You know, the type who doesn't use correct enunciation, who's loud and who's, well, ghetto. But for a long time, I'm just putting on this false face until one day, I really think about what I'm doing. I ask myself, why am I pretending to be someone I'm not? Who cares about what people think of me? I shouldn't have to change my personality or the way I am to please anyone but myself. Coming into high school, I have a new perspective to life. Now, when people tell me I talk or act white, I simply tell them, what does a black person say or talk like? Why do you feel obligated to tell me how I should act or talk based on my race? I get no response, silence. So I just leave it at that. I leave them thinking about their perspective of white or black people. My goal in life is to help people stop putting other people into categories based on race. To stop thinking all black people talk like this or all white people talk like this. We all have to change our mentality, not just a single race, but everyone who has a mentality that a single race is to blame. This kind of thinking is what causes our country to go to hell. When a black person walks into a predominantly white neighborhood and gets shot at or has cops calling them, or when a white person drives in a predominantly black neighborhood and they think that they might get raped or robbed, it's because of this type of thinking is where police brutality come from. The same type of thinking took place 70 years ago and caused the Holocaust. I'm not here to lecture you, but I'm here to make sure you're conscious of all the things that we do and say, because society today is still setting up people of color to fail in life. What does black mean? I never could answer that question. I believe that there is no such thing as acting, talking, or dressing like a race, but there is such a thing as expressing who you are as an individual. Don't let people discourage you from being who you are, despite your race, religion, or sexuality. Just do you. People may say that I struggle with my identity, but I say people struggle to see their own stupidity. I am a young female, a young black female, or what I like to call myself, a young melanin goddess.
So sometimes explaining what I am not seems easier than explaining what I am. For instance, I am not a werewolf. Many childhood full moon nights spent being disappointed have proven that to me beyond all doubt. I am not someone who thinks the Oxford comma is a matter of taste. It's a matter of clarity, and only a caveman would insist otherwise. I am also not a man. Now, the first and last of those may seem fairly obvious on the face of it. I don't look like a man, or like a werewolf, I hope. I look like a woman, only I'm not. Let me start from the beginning. I am, as are many with female plumbing, assigned female at birth, or AFAB. And even though for all my life, I don't really know what feeling female feels like, I still believe that I'm a girl. Because if what I'm feeling isn't girl, then I don't know what is. Even at 11, I recognize I'm different from other girls. I get crushes on other girls way more than I do boys. But the words to define who I am just aren't in my vocabulary. But I don't even think the word lesbian in reference to myself until college. Though I'm still attracted to boys, I'm still far more attracted to girls. And the word bisexual surely doesn't apply unless one is equally attracted to boys and girls. Am I right? I arm myself with this naive belief, and by the time I'm 25, I've had a few assignations with guys, but none with girls yet. Well, none since I kissed my first and second grade frenemy, Shawana, on a dare when we were both 8. But the experiences I have with guys, rushed, unromantic fumblings in the dark, and sometimes while trespassing on someone's private property, in someone's private property patio furniture, these experiences just don't move me. I mean, despite the prevalence of these encounters, I must be a lesbian, right? I'm just a really inept one, just bad at it. Proof being that despite identifying as a lesbian, I don't have sex with a woman until I'm 32. And it's just as traumatizing and uninteresting as it is with guys. Because while I do appreciate the aesthetics of a woman's body better, I'm just not sexually or romantically moved by the look of anyone. Not impressed by happenstance aesthetics conferred by nature, society, or a surgeon. I want to be, but I'm not. I don't feel physical and sexual attraction for anyone of any sex or gender or identity. And there isn't a specific moment of insight leading to this as a revelation. It's more like the end result of a lifetime of willful denial and ignorance. And that result is me feeling too tired and confused, too heart-heavy to run from something I've always felt and known, but haven't always understood. I lack an easily described sexuality and gender, sort of like styrofoam or a ceiling fan. End of story. Well, that theory floats for about a year. Then comes the mania-fueled revelation that the one common element in all my lackluster encounters is me. It's not their bodies and identities that are problematic, but my own. More specifically, my reaction even to bodies I find attractive. I don't even know there's a term for that, for the attraction one feels to an aesthetically pleasing body, but that attraction is neither romantic or sexual. At the time, I don't know any of this. I do know some other terms: pansexual, panromantic, and transgender. A pansexual is someone for whom gender and sex pose no limitations to their sexuality. A panromantic is someone for whom gender and sex pose no limitation to their romantic orientations. Easy enough. And a transgender person is someone whose gender differs from the one they were assigned at birth or that is based on their physical sex. So if I'm not a girl, then that must mean I'm a guy. If I'm not attracted to any one person, I must be attracted to all of them. The gender identity or the plumbing of my partners has no effect on any attraction I feel, or don't. So I briefly but firmly theorize, a pansexual guy trapped in a woman's body. I promptly update my Facebook status accordingly, and just to reflect all that. I spend the next near year making forays into being and attempting to live as male, FYI, wearing a binder when one is a 50 double D is sweltering, suffocating, and disheartening. But it's when I'm about to start seriously looking into hormone replacement therapy that I begin to accept some long-stifled truths about myself. This time, about what I'm really not. I am not and won't be, even if I go through with hormone replacement therapy or have reassignment surgeries. I am not a man. Yet, despite looking like one, I am not a woman either. And I'm not lacking a sexuality, not precisely, but it is a pretty close thing. Yet, is that enough? I mean, at some point, I have to make a positive claim, a statement of gender identity and sexuality, if only to myself, right? I have to be able to assert, if only to myself, who and what I am, don't I? I can't continue to be defined only by all the things I'm not, right? When I look in the mirror, who and what do I see? Well, for a while, I saw a woman who was out and bemused about apparently being a lesbian, albeit a really inept one. This woman occasionally had sex with men, and certainly more than she would ever have with women. But since it wasn't a 50-50 split on the hookups or the attraction, she hesitated to identify as bisexual. For a while, I saw a man who was bewildered about why he was born in that same confused lesbian's body and who was always plotting, like Pinky and the Brain, the amazing things he'd accomplish once he was finally free of his gender cage. Then I began to see that the possible genders in between, around, and beyond those 2 points could be infinite and entirely subjective. I began to see and realize and accept that there are other definitions and avenues of attraction that bypass the sexual and the romantic without excluding it, even if these differing avenues of attraction don't involve skipping through fields of daisies together, holding hands. I suppose the best definitions of who I am are agender, asexual, and aromantic, with some provisos and caveats, of course. But even those labels don't seem to exactly fit who I am. So tonight, I'm coming out again as something a little different, an am I can wholly lay claim to at last. I am. This is certainly the place for it. I am an inept, trisexual person of no specific gender, or maybe all of them. One who looks like a woman but has never really identified as one, nor understood what identifying as a woman even entails. I am equally not sexually attracted to women, men, and everyone in between and beyond. I am also not romantically attracted to anyone, though I love whom I love very deeply. I am me. I am me, here, queer, and endlessly excited to still be learning and discovering more of who else I am. That is my life's quest, and it is, at last, well begun. Whatever life-changing identity epiphanies await me in the future, I know at last who I am, and I'm excited about my process of becoming who I'll be. I'm blazing a path meant only for me to take, yet I'm not traveling that road alone. There are people like me out there, and now I know some of them. I am not alone. I never was. And all those travelers like me, we are pretty awesome exactly as is. No matter who we become, we will always be becoming who we truly are. We are ourselves more and more ourselves with each moment honestly lived. And we can, we will, we are asserting with pride and truth, joy and anticipation, satisfaction and certainty, not just I am, but I will be. Thank you.
Often, when I meet new people, they casually ask me, "How did you end up here in Kingston?" Each time, I stop, take a breath, and try to engage a discipline I trained myself in long ago, the discipline of keeping myself composed. The people I've just met probably expect some casual, polite answer, but what I really want to do is scream out. I'm one of over 9,000 people who have recently been forced to migrate out of Harlem, one of over 60,000 who became homeless in New York City and had to move. Actually, I can answer that question with just one word: gentrification, but was told by a white guy that the G word was insulting and asked politely not to use it again. I also read in an online newspaper that the word racism is not proper to use in the year 2017. It's polite to use the word bias instead. Does this mean that racism is newly improved? It feels like I'm being tricked by a word, asked to compromise, accommodate a condescending use of vocabulary. I really think I miss my calling as a researcher. I've been reading articles by economists and social scientists who measure the effects of gentrification and try to conclude whether it's good or bad. I could have done a better job reporting on the way it acted like a virus, causing the death of Black Harlem. I don't have to research it. I was there. There are two sides to the gentrification coin: creation and destruction. On the creation side, it prevents the continuation of a downward spiral in an area that has been in decline for a long time. Buildings come back to life, streets are cleaned up, and there are new schools and institutions. On the destruction side, rents and property values rise to a level that's unaffordable for the original inhabitants, and they become displaced. Some become homeless. I became homeless. When growing up in Harlem, my parents often talk about the area's heyday. I remember driving with them in our brown Ford, viewing the street scene from the backseat window. One time, one of them points to a specific neighborhood we are passing. My father says, "This is once the famous Sugar Hill." I can't understand why they call it Sugar Hill. I don't see any candy stores or any resemblance to the game Candyland. All I see are row houses that have been around since the turn of the century and old signs saying, "Park your horses here." My parents start reminiscing about the ladies and gentlemen dressing up for the evening, and together they sing the tune of Duke Ellington's "Take the A Train." I'm gonna try to sing. Hurry, 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 take the A train to get to Sugar Hill way up in Harlem. If you should take the A train, you'll get to where you're going in a hurry. I love hearing the two of them singing. My parents continue to recall the early times when they moved to Harlem in the 40s, over 20 years before I was born. They tell me distinguished, celebrated people lived in the areas. African American professionals, politicians, artists, musicians, and writers thrived on the Hill. In the 1990s, when I'm in my late 20s, Harlem is going through its second renaissance. At the State Office Building, I see drawn plans for a prosperous future there. It's a design map showing reconstruction of the abandoned areas. There's a future shopping mall, a hotel, and condominiums. I'm excited. I decide to open a shop featuring my unique clothing designs somewhere on Adam Clayton Powell Boulevard. But my dream goes into gridlock at a community meeting where several religious leaders talk, frankly, about the reconstruction of Harlem. You know, the improvements are not for us, they say. It's the white man's plan to take back Harlem. The end result will be to kick us out. Half the people at the meeting can't conceive of getting kicked out. We're a strong community, they respond. White people never wanted to come into an area they considered a dead zone before, so why now? They can't get rid of all of us. Unfortunately, they're in denial. Well-established churches organize a plan for citizens living in private complexes to convert them into co-ops. The neighborhood banks are willing to lower the mortgage rate to support the cause, but our tenants association cannot collect enough signatures. Not everyone agrees to buy their apartments. They can't foresee the tragedy that is coming. In the coming years, I witnessed cleaner streets, a stronger police presence, less crime. There are new schools and condominiums. Brownstones are renovated. Oh, and let me not forget to mention there's now a Starbucks. I become angry when I see familiar mom and pop establishments replaced by high-end business stores that aren't hiring local residents. And when I learn that the newly renovated brownstones start at $1 million, there's tension between the new residents and the old residents. Police officers start rounding up men of color on the sidewalks. I'm struggling with the rising cost of living. My private complex is bought and sold 3 times. With every change in management, friends and neighbors leave at record speed. Suddenly, Section 8 and all other government programs are no longer honored. So many can't afford to stay in their apartments, and they can't afford to leave for other ones that are even more expensive. Eventually, I'm one of those people. In 2012, I'm in housing court, fighting for my tenants' rights to keep my family's Harlem apartment, the one I grew up in. The rent is being raised from $899 to $2,400. My immediate family are all deceased, and I'm fighting this alone. New people have replaced the neighbors I grew up with. The new people don't bat an eyelash at paying the high market value rent. I doubt they have much compassion for those of us who can't. They are now very protective of what they see as belonging to them. It causes a division in my complex. Management can't wait until I fall months behind on my rent so that they can evict me. And before long, I do. This eviction goes on my record. It will be 7 years before I can apply for another apartment in New York City. I have lost the home I was born in. At first, I stay at a hotel. Then I couch surf. I rent a room. Finally, I become homeless and go through the shelter system for a year. Luckily, a nephew then connects me with a woman in Kingston who wants to pay it forward. She helps me get into a shelter here, and after a while, I'm able to get an affordable apartment in Uptown. But now here in Kingston, I'm seeing all the familiar signs all over again, and it's scary. More people are running here from the city to find lower rents to survive. Many of them are artists. Outside developers have been noticing the shift, and now they're buying property and making future plans for rebuilding. The more Kingston is in the news, the more rents rise. So it's challenging to keep myself composed when people ask me how I got here, when I wonder whether I will be able to stay. It's a challenge to be polite when Caucasians who hear my story say they too lived in Harlem and tell me I should never lose my connection to it. without acknowledging that I can't go back home. I can't go back home. So here's the conclusion to my scientific human research into the matter of gentrification. We need to stop the rise of power at the expense of others. Thank you.
So this piece was written as part of a workshop workshop to performance called the Slave Dwelling Project. We did in 2017 at the Huguenot Village in New Paltz. When you ask me to speak about slavery, you are asking me to speak of my African ancestors. I've visited with unnamed, unknown ancestors in my dreams and imagine them crowding around me with curiosity and delight. I have searched since then to find an authentic way back, to be in communion with ancestors who may or may not have been slaves. When you ask me to speak of my African ancestors, I know, and you know, we both know, that the first thing that comes to mind are human beings suffering in pain and degradation, suffering great sorrow and great loss. I have tried to imagine into this experience for a long time. I've read books, good books, like Dessa Rose, Beloved, or Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl, and too many others to recall right now. And these books have taken me part of the way, but not all of the way into this imagining. It's never close enough. The night before joining the slave dwelling workshop, I'm at home writing, trying to prepare. As I write the word slave, a strong voice in my head thunders, "We are not slaves." Is this my voice alone? Am I avoiding something? I had jumped at the chance to sleep in a cellar once inhabited by enslaved Americans. I thought that finally I'd be able to press my nose right up to the glass of that world and look in. My expectations were a vague mix of fear, excitement, superstition. Yes, I've inherited my Jamaican grandmother's superstitious nature. Would I be overwhelmed with seismic shifts of emotion? Or maybe injured by a malevolent spirit? The most challenging part of this overnight, aside from the momentary discomfort, is my fear and anticipation of what collective presence might be revealed. Or maybe, finally, I would see with crystal clarity the world as my ancestors saw it, felt it, lived it, and breathed it. None of that happened. Instead, I spent a collegial, even cozy night in my sleeping bag on a clean, swept floor of an historic cellar surrounded by fellow writers and seekers. The conversation is ongoing. Tamika is on her luxurious air mattress. Tina Lynn has her hood over her head and is scrolling down her iPad as people talk. Terry James is still wearing his Union soldier uniform and hat with a gold bugle on the crown. It almost feels cozy here with all 8 or 9 of us sitting cross-legged, tired yet anticipatory on our sleeping bags. I'm sure we're all wondering what this night will be. Tamika asked Terry if he has a particular ritual when he does the overnights in the slave dwellings. Terry raises his arms, which are in shackles. "This is what I do," he says, looking sad. He talks about a cold night in South Carolina when he could see the moon through the cracks in the ceiling boards. The room is damp, but not uncomfortably damp, and there are 2 fans moving the air, which also makes it cold. I'm looking straight at the tall cooking hearth decorated with LCD candles, a small vase of daisies, and the wooden image of Elegba, the Yoruba deity who is both trickster and guardian of the pathways that I brought from home. The room feels cozy to me because we are 8 or 9 people unified by shared space and shared purpose, each of us scribbling on our pages. This feels intimate, like family, and this is surprising to me. I'm feeling grimy and tired, but good, because I imagine the spirit of this place is glad for our presence. And beyond that, I imagine the spirits of my own ancestors are glad for my attention and intention. There is a feeling of devotion in this experience. This is prayer in a way that I can accept. I'm feeling very focused here, connected, maybe to my co-dwellers, but certainly to my own purpose. This feeling is surprising to me because I think I was fearing trauma and horror from this experience. We don't know, but we long to know. I fall asleep thinking about those who lived here. Were they too hot or too cold in their cellars? What happened if the wife was summoned to the big house? What will the ancestors show me? Upon waking in the morning, one dream is crystal clear. She's a thin black girl, maybe 20 or 22 years old, her hair combed into a small natural that halos her head. I've never seen her before, but on this night, she appears to me in a series of confused dreams. Now we're in a room together, somewhere with others, and we're dancing. It's a funny dance, some kind of folk dance. We hold hands and we pull in close up on demi-point of one foot, the other leg is bent at the knee. Then we pull away, still holding hands. Then back in close, each of us rising onto the same demi-point of one foot, holding the other leg bent and poised in the air until we fall away out of the small circle back onto 2 feet. It's an odd, solemn dance, and I wake with the impression of this girl vivid in my mind. 1 foot in, 2 feet out, pull your partner close, then fall away. Climbing the steps out of the cellar, I cross the street to the house with the indoor plumbing, splashing water on myself, reviewing my dream, fishing for details. I'm suddenly filled with a sense of love that wells up in my body and washes over me. Love. Love, love, love. This was our dance of love. I'm left with a residual feeling of being pulled away from the people I loved most in the world. So this, after all that tense expectancy, was my meeting with the ancestors through dance. We met in a space and we danced. This was what the ancestors showed me. No matter the physical and emotional pain we've endured, the ugliness of a people and a culture that tried to break our humanity, reduce us to less than beasts, that tried to grind our divine nature to dust. In the face of all of that, we, the children of enslaved Africans, are still connected to each other and to all of humanity by powerful bonds of love and reverence. Does this surprise me? Not a bit. I felt this truth without words ever since I heard my first gospel song many years ago. I, who am a Jewish Unitarian agnostic with no previous exposure to the tradition of gospel music, heard clearly the deep power of the gospel voice. I knew then without words that I was hearing the voice of divinity in bondage. And when I discovered African dance after many years of struggling to feel myself in the rigid shapes of ballet, modern, and jazz dance, I knew that I had found my true language, because dance is a language. It's a language that my ancestors speak. And I have always known myself as a dancer. Since my first toddling steps, struggling to keep up with the first dancers in my life, my mother and her twin sister, I have always been a dancer. And whether I've known it or not, I have always been and will continue to be in communion with my ancestors. I am their story, and they are mine, and we will always keep dancing. Thank you.
I always loved being a librarian. I'm a collector of information and stories. Until now, I have only been a word keeper. But tonight, I'm going to be a word speaker and share my story. As a kid, I believe my life doesn't have its own meaning. My ideas come from wanting to be someone else. When we got our first TV, I started play acting. I always thought of my father as a strong person, but as my world opened up with TV, I find other people I believe in and are stronger. I decided I wanted to be Lone Ranger. He always got his man. It's the 3rd grade. I'm in Miss Kaufman's class. She's a nice teacher. She's always discussed national events with us, but she never asked our opinion. She explains that Dwight Eisenhower is our president and also a war hero. She talks about George Washington, the first president and father of this country. This makes me think of my father. He's a hero too, and he's also the president of our family. What would you like to be when you grow up, Ms. Kaufman asked. I say, I'm going to be president of the United States. Everyone laughs, even my best friends, Jesse and Clifton. If my father is like the president of our family, why can't I be president of this country? It's 1954, and Ms. Kaufman says it will be at least 150 years before a Negro will be elected president. After she says that, I'm never interested in school again. I just want to play football and never let my true feelings show. On Saturday nights, my father used to take the whole family out to dinner at the White Castle. I knew going out to dinner was special, but I don't know until many years later that going to the White Castle on Saturday nights is about keeping our family together. 1960, my father buys a house in a nice neighborhood to move us out of the projects. There are still some white families on the block when we move in, but a couple of months later, those houses are abandoned. Much later, I learned that the same thing that happened to us happened to many black families all over the country. A real estate agent sells a house to one black family in a white neighborhood. Then, because of their fear, the white families flee the neighborhood, taking much less money than what their houses are worth. After that, the agent turns around and sells those houses to other black families at a much higher price. Banks won't give mortgages or only the worth kind of mortgage to families in these neighborhoods. That tactic is called redlining, because banks literally draw red lines around these neighborhoods and strategically discriminate against them. Redlining is one of the primary tactics that kept black families in this country from building any kind of wealth to pass on to their children. After moving to this neighborhood, instead of seeing my father as a hero, I see him as a person who gives up, someone who takes much grief from the white community. As a teenager, I started reading newspapers, and I learned about racism and hatred. I started wondering why the school is always teaching us about the Europeans' advancement in America, but not about the accomplishments of black men or Native Americans. During my days at school, I'm always asking, didn't black folks contribute to this development of America? I decided that since I can't use my knowledge to be president, I'll become a community organizer. Don't clap yet. I joined the Panther Party, who was working with some white activist groups, and together we tried to organize tenants in the projects. In political education groups run by the Panthers, we read books like Frantz Fanon's Wretched of the Earth and Black Skin, White Mass. We discussed national and international issues. But it's not enough. It doesn't explain why so many of our people are broken. And it doesn't explain why my life looks the way it does. I'm 17, and I got 2 kids. I'm also selling drugs from my apartment, and I'm carrying a gun. Years later, I got word that my father is going into the hospital for prostate surgery. I come home to see him and decide to rest the night before and visit him the next day. But he has a heart attack and dies on the operating table. The next time I see my father is at the funeral parlor, where I go to dress him with my wife and sisters. A quarter mile up the road after we leave, a police car pulls up behind us. They call out my name with the bullhorn. I'm arrested and sent to prison for selling drugs. I think about all the things I wanted for my life and how I ended up being nothing. At age 21, I'm just a number behind bars. In prison, I do what I have always loved to do. I join a reading and discussion group run by the People's Party, a group that organizes in the prison to address the inmates' complaints and help them survive their hostile environment. My role is Minister of Information. I collect the reading materials we need for our groups, even if those materials are not in the prison library. I spent 3 years in prison. My father used to say, you don't bring your business home. You don't do that. But I did. I began to see things differently. I began to understand how much my father had to endure just to keep us together as a family. I went from thinking, why are you taking all that grief from the white community, to, I can't believe you took all that and kept your family together. I don't do that. It took me a long time, and I'm sorry. I tell my kids that every day, I'm sorry. I'm still coming to terms with my past. I sold drugs. Later, I discovered my 2 friends from childhood, Clifton and Jesse, both died from drugs. One of them from a drug overdose, the other from AIDS. When I close my eyes, I can see them in 3rd grade. When I open my eyes, they are both dead. I learned a lot in Miss Kaufman's 3rd grade class. It was a turning point for me. I learned that I could never be president in my own country. That the world didn't care about my opinion, my hopes, or my ambitions. I learned that in the eyes of the white society, I didn't matter too much. I wondered if 3rd grade was a turning point for my 2 best friends and numerous classmates who didn't make it past their 20s. After I moved to Woodstock in 1996, I started working with a group of men from Poughkeepsie, a few I had been in prison with. I created the first of 2 African Roots libraries, the Sadie Peterson Delaney African Roots Library at 29 North Hamilton Street in Poughkeepsie. In 2017, we opened our second African Roots Library at 43 Gill Street in Kingston. I think the community understands the need for such a center. Our centers are the places where the stories are kept. I never looked at my life like a story, but now, becoming a word speaker, I know that my own story is connected to all the other stories I have been collecting. And like the other stories, it's worth sharing, amplifying, and pushing out into the community. Thank you.
I'm going to interrupt you for a minute. I just want to give a special round of applause to Micah Blumenthal and DARA LURIE, who've been leading this work. Thank you.
I'm supposed to hold all these things.
I'll put them down for you. Here, I'll trade.
Thank you, everyone here in our audience here and as well as online. Thank you to all of our readers. I feel honored to be up here with all of you. Thank you. In case you don't know, we're going to have a question and answer period with DARA, myself, and all of the readers tonight. But before we do, I just want to let you know, if you look at the back cover of your program, you'll see that we are looking to cast the next Black Stories Matter workshop and performance. So if you're interested, please email info@tmiproject.org, and we hope you will all return for that new production, which will feature all new work. To make the program fully accessible, Black Stories Matter is a free program for both the participants and the audience. So now, before we move on to Q&A, please donate generously to help us continue the important work. We'll be passing baskets, and all of you watching online can also take out your phones and donate online at tmiproject.org/give. So for all of you watching online, it's a good time to take a break before we come back to questions and answers and donate. For all of you here, we ask you to give generously. We'll take credit cards. You can take out your phone. We'll actually take your credit card if you just want to put that in the basket. Whatever you want to give. Give everything you have in your wallet. And we'll have questions and answers in just a few moments. All right, everyone. So before we begin question and answers, there's one really important rule for you all to know. And that is, as audience members, you can ask any question you want, but a storyteller has the right not to answer that particular question. So this way you can feel comfortable asking, and they can feel comfortable whether to answer it or not. Got it? All right.
Thank you, thank you. I just have to kind of break that like awkward silence there. So the question is developing. I would love to know if any of you and all of you that are feeling feeling moved to do so. How did this come across collectively? How did like each of you collectively come from where your life story took you to all meeting each other and ending up on this stage here today with us? Because I know you all have your own, wow, you all have your own stories, but I'm just really curious, like, what led you all to TMI? Thank you.
Okay, so let me see if I can recap that question, because that sounds like a short story kind of question. So you're asking what led each of us to TMI to find this organization and do this work, write our stories. Does that sound right? Okay. So I'll speak for myself, and then maybe somebody else will also want to respond. So I guess the external answer is, for me, I was invited to participate in the first cohort of Black Stories Matter back in 2017. So that's the external answer. The internal answer is that I felt a deep need to connect my story to other people's stories, that I felt like I'd been this little bird sitting on a branch just chirping my own story alone, and suddenly I find a tree full of other birds and we're singing our songs together. So that's been my experience. Would anyone else like to answer?
I initially came to or maybe they came to me. We found each other several years back. They have a wonderful free program at the Mental Health Association, and I was lucky enough at that time to, even though I was kind of like, because of a lot of things, I was there, and someone there said, you know what, you should try the TMI Project. They have this free workshop, and it's 12 weeks, and you get to write and maybe do a performance if you want to at the end. And that was where it started for me. And despite all the things I have said as part of TMI, they still keep inviting me back. They never learn. They never learn, these people. They just don't give up. So that's why I'm still here, and I've been blessed to find these people. I mean, even the ones that aren't exactly skin folk, they're kinfolk. I never do anything with TMI where I feel like a stranger or like I'm not welcome or like I wasn't cut out to be exactly where I am at that moment. So TMI magic, and yeah, they kind of just find you and they make you a part of the TMI family, and you never get to leave, and one of us, one of us, one of us.
Sir, so what made you keep on going? Like, why did you keep on going? What made you just like, just like push, just keep on going, no matter what happened? How did you do that?
That's a great question. Who are you directing it to?
Just everybody.
To everyone. Who would like to answer that?
Sure. How do we keep on pushing? Well, I've been working in the community for a long time, and I had mentioned that I'm a story keeper. I was not a story speaker, and they tricked me into this. But let me tell you something. You gotta write. You gotta write, and you gotta write, and you gotta write, and then you see the story develop. And that's what happened to me. I thought, well, we're gonna take a break from talking and write for 20 minutes. I said, 20 minutes? I can't write for 20 minutes. And then after they go and look at what I wrote, they made me say, well, read it. And I read it. And we start talking again from that piece of literature that I just wrote. And they say, okay, why don't you write for 15 more minutes? And I'm seeing this develop, but I've never thought of it that way. But like I said in the end, I would love this to keep pushing these stories out into the community. This is our history. This is our history. Most of these stories is definitely our history. What we're telling you is what happened. When they told me I was going to be an intergenerational group, I didn't know I was gonna be the last one. I say, I thought it was, they said, you know, the good goes last. Well, this was the old went last. I'm the oldest, you know. And it was great. And it was great meeting everybody here. And I think that, you know, what TMI is doing is something that, you know, we should be spreading all over the country. And I'm quite sure it will be. But that's how I'd see it. I am definitely a word keeper, and we do try and push the words out there.
I hope I answer your question. For me, what keeps me going on is hope, a very simple word, and my determination to never give up, and that things will change. And only the way that things can change is we keep telling our stories and keep having a voice out there.
For me, a lot of it over the past few years, and thanks in very large part to the TMI Project and Black Stories Matter, is knowing that I'm writing and I'm talking and I'm writing and I'm talking, and even if everyone doesn't get it, there are people out here who do. I'm sitting next to them, I'm sitting in front of them, talking to them, and hopefully with them right now, and that's something that's really heady, and I don't think most people get a lot of that or enough of that, so this is a place where you can get that, and there are more places out there, if you look, where you can get that too. So keep writing and keep talking, and I'm talking directly to you. Thank you for the great question. Write, talk, until someone says, hey, yeah, me too. And when you find people or a person like that, write and talk some more. Just keep doing the writing and the talking, because they're out there. And once you find that group of people where you just fit and click, it's gonna take off. So that's what gives me hope, is that I found them, and I'm gonna find more of them because of them. So.
This was wonderful. Thank you for sharing. My question really is a request. As you each presented, I took notes. There were phrases that you used that I wanted to adopt. And so, because I do speak and present in other arenas, I was wondering if you would mind if I shared or if I used a line. I'm just asking for copyright privileges, I guess, in advance. I promise to give you credit. I may not remember your name, but I promise to give you credit. So I want to just ask you for your approval at this point in time. My lines like, a young melanin goddess, discipline of keeping myself composed, communion with my ancestors, you don't bring your business home. I am, I can ascribe to, I am, as is, I will be. Black without apology. Opportunity to listen with new ears. When I walk, melanin flows. My heartbeat is the calling of my ancestors. See, I was listening. No one holds it against me. All I feel is love and a new commitment to telling the truth. So I ask, I ask for copyright privileges to take some of these and just share them and share your lines with others, and I promise to give you the credit.
It's okay with me. But I think each person should answer for themselves. So, and maybe even after this format, just check in with each person. And we can make that easy by just going up. Is that okay? Just checking.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing your stories. It's a real privilege to bear witness to your stories, and I just think it takes such courage, and I really appreciate how you shared. And I just want you to know that I heard you, I see you, and thank you so much.
I was curious if you could share, each of you could share how you chose that particular story that you shared with us.
So I chose that story because the way I was introduced into the TMI program was through the high school. So basically it was a writing workshop that they allowed told people to come to just to see how it was, and they just told me to write about anything about a story, and it just kind of flowed out. I honestly don't remember how it came about, but it just flowed out just like that.
When I wrote that story, it was right after I had that experience, and I had a lot of emotions around it. I was angry, disappointed, sad, worried, scared, but I just felt like if I had this time to write about it and think about it, that I'd realize that those weren't the feelings to have, and there were other thoughts that I could process around it.
TMI was nice enough to ask me to do a Black Stories Matter thing, and I thought I'd be doing the piece that I originally did here for the first time 2 years ago, and they suggested this piece, which I had done for one of their other workshops, and it had been a couple of years ago, and I was like, I don't even know if any of this stuff is true anymore. And so I had to look at it and read it through and wince at the horrible writing, just as 2 years from now, I will look at what I redid for tonight and think, oh my God, no. And I had to re-ask myself so many questions that actually helped me define who I am. So, I mean, they basically chose for me, but once again, by having to look at an older piece and update it and make it so that it was once again true for me, it's just, they just basically helped me discover more of who I am. So, yeah, they picked the piece, but it was the right choice, the right time, and yeah, right question. So, magical TMI.
So I hadn't expected to be reading, actually. And Eva suggested that maybe I would read a piece, and she suggested this piece from our slave dwelling workshop, and upon brief consideration, I thought that makes absolute sense, because it really is a story about me struggling to integrate what does my history mean, and what is my identity made up of, and that's what we're talking about in all different stories, so that's how I chose.
The two instructors I had sit down, and we was talking, and they said, well, why don't you start from the beginning? When I put down the number 1954, I was in a whole different tax bracket, and I felt if they want to know about this, if I start there, then the things that was in my head start coming back. Ms. Kaufman's class. I mean, that was third grade. I was in third grade when that woman told me that. And it was like, wow, I didn't think of it until we started writing about it, I didn't even think about Jesse and Clifton laughing when I told them I wanted to be president, because I had no reference points of, I just see my father as a president, This is what school was doing to me. But I can say the instructors drew that out of me, and it was great. It was a good experience, and no matter what I tried to do to fight it, they was better than I was at pulling it out of me, and they got it out.
I've been carrying this anger and pain in my chest because this has been going on across the country in all the major cities, in the inner cities, where Black people, just thousands of them, are just being displaced and just, all over the country in migration. And no one is talking about it until it starts hitting, Caucasians when it's happening to them. but so many of us are displaced, and I've lost a lot of neighbors. A few of my neighbors have, last year became homeless, and it's heart-wrenching to hear about that. And I feel that, nobody deserves to be homeless. Nobody goes around saying, oh, I want to be homeless. And, I'm not against development or, things coming into a town and people, getting, new buildings and new businesses, but why can't it be for everybody? Why can't it benefit everyone? Why is it always just the minority? And this is my third time reading this, and it still hurts here, I'm glad I didn't break down and cry like the first time I did. But I've been reading the Constitution law, just reading it, it just feels like we are the majority, and we have the right to vote for what is good for our town. And I'm just speaking on behalf of Kingston because I'm new here, and I fell in love with this place, and I fell in love with the community, which was something that was dying in Harlem. And I didn't know I would ever see it again. When I came here, I felt love. People doing community dinners. And it just, my roots want to sink in like a tree. I don't want to be uprooted again. And I don't want to see people going through that again here. And I hear the pain when people have to leave. And it's just not right. So I'm just saying the minority, those few of them that want to benefit from themselves, and it's only for themselves, and they only want to bring the rich people to benefit what they want. And I'm saying for you all as a majority to stand together and vote against whatever is coming into town, whatever wants to uproot and, uproot people out again. So that's how I'm feeling. I'm hoping that my story will inspire people to, stand up.
I kind of didn't choose my story. My story kind of chose me. When I did a summer TMI group with MHA, and I didn't have any idea what I was going to write about. But the very first prompt they gave me, I don't remember what it was verbatim, but they were saying, like, write about a color. And I had just recently got married, so yellow, and it was yellow themed. So yellow was on my brain, and yellow always reminds me of my daffodils, and it just kind of like rolled out. And a lot of the things that I was writing about I realized were things that I really didn't address with myself at the time, because I just found it easier to be like a quiet person and not stir up trouble, because, I was one of those people who was lucky enough to, when I expressed dissatisfaction, I was dismissed as an angry black woman, which I think is worse than the N-word, by the way. But I just didn't deal with it, and then stupid prompt about a color just like brought everything out, and it just started connecting. So that's the end.
Well, as soon as I was told to write, I knew exactly what I wanted to write about, and it was my grandfather, because he's pretty much like the man in my life at the time, because my father wasn't, I couldn't see my dad as much as I'd really want to, so he kind of really impacted my life, and when that happened, it kind of left a pain in my heart. So when I got pulled into the room and started to write, I kind of knew exactly what I wanted to write about.
My story is unapologetically me, and it's me speaking my mind, which I love to do. If I have something to say, I will say it, and I don't care how it comes across, and I want people to hear my story. I don't like assumptions, and assumptions is based on ignorance, which I don't like. And if I'm telling you my story, I expect you to listen. You don't have to change, but maybe it'll help you change, because it's helped me. Like, bringing my story to life is bringing who I am alive and who I want to be. And it makes me confident and strong. And I like that. I like that me.
Okay, this is for the young lady who spoke about gentrification. You sparked two things in me when you spoke. First of all, pain. You rekindled some pain. that I felt, but you also rekindled a fire in me. Because I heard you, and you mentioned how you fear that the gentrification that you saw in Harlem, you see it happening in Kingston. I grew up in downtown Kingston. I lived through it. It has already happened. And I could remember when I was 11 years old, my mother telling me, when urban renewal came in with the urban renewal project, she told me exactly what was going to happen. And it's exactly what happened. So I feel you when you say if there's anything we can do, you know, vote, go out and be, if there's anything, then we really need to get out and do it. Because like I said, I have lived through it. It happened in downtown Kingston. The only thing that saved the area where I was, which was in Pankaki, is because they didn't see the waterfront property in Pankaki being worth investing in. But now they're finding it worth investing in. So I want you all to pray for me and my family, because my family members, my uncles and my aunts and all who own property in Pankaki, we are digging in. And I don't care how high property goes up, we're digging in. Because when I'm gone, I want my children to have our property.
Yeah.
I want the families I grew up with in Pankaki to have their property, because the way it happened, we used to call it crosstown. It's a shame. It's a shame. Businesses, black-owned. Homes, black-owned. And gentrification just displaced so many people. So many people. They sold them on a dream. We're going to put you in nice, beautiful apartments. And they built these apartments that look like chicken coops. And then they built other apartments across the street. And they just moved them out of the houses, let the property go to pot, and then came in and redid it. A property I know for a fact they got for $8,000 in taxes, you can't get in there for under $1,500 a month now. So, like I said, you rekindled some pain because I lived through it, but you also rekindled some fire. And I'm going to ask y'all to pray for myself and all my family that owns property in the Pankaki area, that we are able to dig in and not let ourselves be moved.
Thank you. We're just going to take two more. We've got one in the back, and Reverend Childs will let you have the last.
Hello? Oh, wow. Sorry. Well, first of all, thank you all. Like, being vulnerable on a public stage is no small feat. So thank you all for sharing with us. Like, this was really a powerful moment. But my question is more so to Mike and Dara. I was curious to know how the format of tomorrow's workshops will be, because this is seeing you share is inspiring us all to write as well. So I was kind of curious if you can give us a preview on how that will work.
Sure, and it's important to note, so tomorrow's the open house workshop, we'll talk about that in a second, but so it's a little bit different than the format that most of them had, which was usually over the course of a few weeks. So tomorrow's just kind of a little bit of a taste of that, and then we'll have a workshop following later on. So we'll have however many people we have coming tomorrow. We'll have prompts. Most of them have some point in there said that there was a prompt, so we'll have a series of prompts just to kind of get you going, right? The idea is to really just free write, let out whatever needs to come out. So she had spoken, Erin, you had spoken of the color yellow, and then that unfolded, right? So it's designed to have the story that you need to tell come out. So we'll have prompts, everyone free writes, we read, usually another round of that. And that's just kind of a taste of what a deeper workshop is like. Does that help? Welcome.
There's a tradition within the black church that they call testimonies. And there's a teaching that simply says that there's overcoming power in the testimonies. And so my question is, have you realized as a result of your sharing your story or your testimony, have you found a overcoming power in your life?
I think, for me, the answer is yes. Although power, yeah, I would say that it's the power of finding myself, really myself, being able to escape distortion of self and understand the bigger story of, the bigger story I'm living, because we're not isolated beings. We live in our personal lives, but we're products of everything that shapes us. And I've written 2 stories with the TMI Project. The first was, and this was the story in 2017 here at Point of Praise, talking about my experience suddenly becoming an orphan for a year and discovering that even at that early age of 9, I had already started making pretty harsh judgments about Black people, about my own people. And of course I didn't know that when I was 9, but in the story I found that. And then in this story that I read tonight, I think what I discovered was that, yes, indeed, I do have a line that connects me back to my forebears, my ancestors, so I'm not cut off, even if I don't have all the details. So those 2 discoveries feel powerful to me, yeah.
I don't know if this exactly answers that question like on the nose, but with every TMI performance that I'm in or that I'm lucky enough to witness, I get something from every story, from everything people say, because there's always a point of like relating where it's like, that's me too. Like we're different, but we have this commonality right here and probably other places too. For tonight though, and I got that tonight with everybody as usual, but it was Dara's, her piece, I've heard it. I heard it once before. And I heard it, and I guess I nodded in all the good places and was like, yeah, that's wow, wow. This time I was, I don't know, hearing it with a better pair of listening ears. I borrowed it from one of you guys. But I heard that, and all my life I felt a sort of remove from enslaved ancestors. Like, I mean, this is a part of my history, but I don't know that it's even part of me. I don't know how to relate to this or touch this or feel anything other than great sadness that this is one of the roots of my past, just this horrible thing. But tonight, listening to what Dara was saying, it hit me with the dancer, and just, it's this solemn dance of love. And at the end of it, I was crying, and I realized that here was finally a point where I could kind of relate to my ancestors. I've always felt like, well, if they could see me, they'd say, you have this freedom and you're squandering it being sad because it's not as free as you would like it to be and it's not as happy as you would like it to be. And tonight, my thinking just kind of 180'd, and I realized they would say, freedom is what we want for you. Happiness is what we want for you. And if your freedom isn't as free as you want, make it freer. Do what you have to do to make it freer. If your happiness isn't what you want, do what it takes to make it happier. We didn't fight and struggle and die for you to be half happy or half free. And so they wouldn't look at me and shake their heads and go, you're squandering what you've got. They'd say, keep going till you have everything you need. And that just kind of, it's still happening to me right now, which is why I'm babbling. But that was a revelation I have been needing my entire life, and I didn't know I needed it. And as much as I love relating to everyone's stories, and I do, they are amazing, this kind of just sort of punched me in the heart. And it was a good heart punch, not a bad one. And I just needed it so badly and didn't realize how badly I needed to know that if these people that died so that I could live, they kept going so I could be here, to know that they would look at me and not be disappointed that, oh, look, she's wasting what we could only dream of. To know that they'd look at me and say, hey, you've got this, good, but if it's not everything you want, keep going till you have that, and then work to keep it. that was just the thing I needed. So I got that from your story. Thank you.
I hope I answer your question. The power that I hear is empowerment, because society makes you feel like when you're homeless, you have committed a crime. So it's empowerment for me to overcome the shame and the guilt. And I can help other people overcome that shame and guilt.
Thank you, audience. Thank you, readers.